Anybody take their seats, please? So we can get started. Welcome back to a new exciting semester. Trustees have to do their welcoming videos a little bit later to our students. We will begin today with Secretary Mazzell reading the roll.
Oh, sorry. Good morning. Todd Hogler.
Here.
Lynn Lenahan.
Here.
I am here. Jeffrey Stone.
Here.
Susan Swartz. Here. Danish Wilson. Here. Albert Chu.
Here.
We have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What if we begin? Susan Swartz, would you be willing to read the mission statement?
Certainly. SUNY Erie Community College meets the needs of a diverse student body and contributes to regional economic vitality by providing high-quality, flexible, affordable, and accessible educational programs committed to student success.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, we will start looking at the agenda. We've got the consent agenda. Items 1 through 9 are on the agenda for approval. First, I'll entertain a motion to approve, and then we'll have discussion if anybody's got discussion. Motion made. Do I hear a second just to get it before us? Trustee Hubler seconds it. Okay, the consent agenda is before us. Items 1 through 9. Does anybody have any questions or any concerns before we move on with
I
this?
have questions on number 9, but we can pass items 1 through 8 if we want to go that route and come back to 9.
You want to go 1 through 8, we'll come back to the tail agenda?
I think that
Okay.
makes sense.
A motion's been made to amend that motion to approve by approving items 1 through 8 on the agenda. We'll hold off on talent management agenda. Motion made, seconded.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, we've dispensed with the first 8 items. Number 9, Trustee Mazzell.
So I'm looking at these positions, the new positions of a coordinator of IT help desk services, coordinator of technical support, and student success reporting specialist. And I'm wondering why in the packet there weren't position justification forms accompanying these, the first 2 jobs. And it looks like the chart on page 107 says that the student success reporting specialist is funded by a Perkins grant, but according to the write-up on page 110, it says it's from vacancy control. So I'm just trying to clarify that, and also what we can expect in the board packets when it comes to the position justification, creation justification form.
Good morning. Good morning. So the position justification forms were part of the packet that was emailed to all of you before the talent management call. So they were in the packet, but I don't know that we typically upload them, so I'll have to talk to Donna about that. But they were in the packet that was sent out for the call.
Okay, so they've been reviewed by the committee. And
Yes,
that's-
there are. We talked about them during the talent management call, correct? We typically didn't. I don't recall us uploading them up here, but I can do that if that's what you'd like to have as part of this as well.
How does everybody feel about that? I'd like to have the information available, but I'm not on that committee, or I don't get to those committee meetings. So if it's possible to include that going forward, that would be useful, I think.
But yeah, we did review on
Transparency. Well, that's great.
We covered it.
Thank you for that. Then I would move item number 9.
Okay, motion made. Wait a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries and the item is approved. Okay, we're now going to move on to budget and audit. Chair Jeffrey Stone.
Good morning. I have just become the chair of the Budget and Audit Committee within the last couple of months, and we had the first committee meeting that I chaired last week, and I must say it was an excellent meeting. We spent several hours together going over the reports that are in front of us today. Penny came to the meeting and spent a good deal of time explaining this to the committee members to our satisfaction with respect to each of the matters that are before us. Prior to this meeting, I think yesterday or the day before, the board received emails from Penny that gave a good, thorough, yet concise explanation of what these matters involve. And we had a good, thorough discussion of those matters at the meeting. And at the end of the discussion, I think we were all, Chairman Lenahan was there as well, that we were all satisfied that these made sense for the college. Basically, what they boil down to is the first two items coming to the Board of Trustees because there is a use of reserve funds proposed. And that has been a power reserved to the Board of Trustees as a whole. And we looked at each of these situations, and they generally, to characterize it for the broader group here, they generally involve timing issues and situations where we have to consider taking something from the reserve fund to make something happen here in the short term for which there will be a reimbursement later, something valuable. So for pathways, I think Penny's memo explained it well, that basically we're making sure that we stay in place as a pathways provider where there's been some turnover at a particular district, and to do that, it's created a few timing issues that we are going to front load with the board's permission from the reserve fund and then receive reimbursement in the same fiscal year. With respect to the automotive renovation, same general concept, but there is a slight possibility of a disconnect between fiscal years. I believe, though, that we feel it more likely than not that the reimbursement to the reserve fund will come in the same fiscal year that the disbursement is made. There's more likelihood of that in item 2 than there is in item 1, which is rock solid, but we felt as a group that it made sense to do that, even with a small risk that there would be a timing difference. The material list disposal, that's for everyone to see, straightforward. And the Montante Solar item, item 4, was discussed, and I just want to make sure that the Board of Trustees and the broader audience understands that that is just simply really sending a signal of the college's willingness to continue with discussions and send a positive signal that we are interested in the development of solar energy at the college, if and to the extent it makes sense for the college in the long run when the specifics come in. Right now, there are RFPs out with vendors, there are proposals circulating about, costs are being assessed and analyzed, and we don't know yet the specifics of exactly what is going to be proposed, but we simply wanted to say we're open to something involving, green energy here and the production of power with solar. Many of the clients I represent are doing exactly that, and I found it not surprising that the college would be in the mix and in the discussions for that. So at the committee meeting, we felt positive as a group after a thorough conversation about all of these items. Okay. Anyone from the committee or Penny want to add anything to what I said?
Okay. Hey, Jeff, do you want to entertain a motion to approve the items 1 through 4?
I will make that motion.
And do I hear a second? Motion seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Items are approved. Now, items 1 through 7, Jeff, we will basically receive and file. Those are functional.
Right. I will make a note that I learned a lot about pickleball at the meeting.
You got to get better at pickleball.
We're getting at the age where it's relevant.
Yeah, I heard once you get really up there like me, that's what's left, golf and pickleball. So anyways, so now we're going to move on to policy and governance. Chair Kate Manziel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're presenting a number of policies that are intended to increase transparency with regard to leaders who represent this institution, because we could face public trust and liability issues if we are unaware of criminal activity on the part of trustees, employees, student leaders, athletes, volunteers. We're bringing before you today policies which require disclosure of arrests and/or convictions during their term of office or their employment or while they're serving as volunteers. The first item is a revision of our bylaws, which requires addressing on page 177. This new item B says, in order to maintain a culture of responsible service, members of the Board of Trustees agree to voluntarily disclose to the chair. It says chairman. I'm going to request that we change that to chair of the board, any arrest or criminal conviction that occurs during their term of office. So that's what's before us. I would also note that on page 176, item 5 at the top, the standing committees of the board, I believe at the last meeting we revised the Student Success Committee to the Curriculum, Student Success, and Diversity Committee, and that's not reflected here. So if we can also amend section number 5 under committees B, so it's B5, to change as we acted on last meeting, I believe, the meeting name to reflect the Curriculum, Student Success, and Diversity Committee. So that is what I'm proposing in terms of the bylaws. Changes that are for you. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, so you're moving to approve item 1.
Item 1 with these amendments, that B,
Right.
we reflected,
As
say
amended.
chair as amended, yes.
Okay, the motion made to approve item 1 as amended by the chair of that committee. Here a second, by trustee Hubler. All those in favor of approval say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, item is approved.
Thank you. To continue on with this, on page 193, the standards of eligibility for student leadership positions and athletes, this is the same requirement of disclosure that we just passed for the Board of Trustees. So students in leadership positions and student athletes are required to immediately disclose to their respective dean of students any arrest that occurs during their term of office. And we should point out that this policy calls for latitude, because an arrest may not automatically result in the student's removal.
Right.
Is going to be, all these situations are going to be assessed on a case-by-case basis. So that is what is before us now for the board's approval.
Okay, we'll hear a motion. Motion made, seconded. It's been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, item is approved. We'll move on to item 3.
Next is the General Education Competency Assurance Policy. The College Senate, SUNY Erie's General Education and Academic Standards Committees, and the Policy and Governance Committee have all reviewed this policy, and it basically codifies our institutional intention to achieve general education proficiency in all our graduates. Anybody have
Straightforward.
questions about that?
We'll hear a motion. Motion from trustee Tu, second by trustee Stone. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item is approved.
And then for the board's information, there's the SGA manual again. The full manual is being reviewed and will come before the board at another time, but we'll point out that on page 197, what we're proposing is adding that disclosure requirement for student government officials and those who are involved in leadership roles in clubs and organizations at the college.
Okay, to whom will disclosure of an arrest be made in that situation?
This is the Dean of Students.
To the dean of students, okay.
Yes. That's what's proposed on 198.
Okay, so those items were items 1 through 3 for board information, basically received. Okay, we will move on to strategic planning and assessment. By the way, I want to sort of apologize. I've yet to appoint a chair to succeed Dennis as chair of strategic planning and assessment. There was a meeting that they had without chair. I will make an appointment within the next few days. So we have somebody to chair that committee, which is comprised mostly of administrators and so forth. But nonetheless, Dennis was a real spark plug there, and we need to. So some members start thinking about getting a phone call from me about being chair. Okay, so and there's one item for board information received and filed. Okay, curriculum, student success and diversity. Susan Schwartz, Denise Wilson,
I don't think there's any questions on any of these
and
information.
Todd.
Anyone else? Todd?
Pretty much the pathways.
Yes.
Okay, then if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve item 1. Motion made, seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, item is approved.
I just have one question on the information items under student success and diversity. When will we see the draft of the monitoring report that student mail states in October?
When do we get the monitoring report?
That we have,
For mail states?
yeah. Is there a draft that's going to come before that committee, or is it going to, is there, the
Yeah.
whole board going to see that?
We're compiling it now and going through a series of reviews. I'm guessing probably by beginning of October.
Okay. Is it due late October?
So the board will be probably the final review, but we have the various departments.
Thank you. I was trying to get a sense of timing.
Okay, so those items are received and filed. For the chair, as you can see, we have a Board of Trustees schedule has been announced. There are no further items in curriculum. student success and diversity that needed approval over the summer. And as I pointed out, I will appoint someone to chair the strategic planning committee and the technology ad hoc committee. That has to be done as well. Other than that, I just want to say that yesterday I and Trustee Stone attended the convocation out at South Campus. I thought it was excellent. A lot of enthusiasm, faculty, administration, a lot of just positive vibes going into the semester. Both Dan and Doug gave great presentations. I thought they were spot on. I don't know if you know it, but we're part of the Stone Soup, right, Doug? And I'll tell you more about that later. But anyways,
I appreciated the theme. Yeah.
Yeah, and Dan, I thought you laid out a great vision for the upcoming semester, including some of the challenges we face. But overall, I thought both Dan and Doug gave inspiring presentations. We appreciate that. Only other announcements I had is both Trustee Wilson and I will be attending two conferences. One, the State Association of Community College Trustees, which will be in September. I think it's 20th and 22nd. 3 days. And then there's a national conference in San Francisco. And I'm just trying to get there. No, we'll definitely be there. In October, I think it's 16th or 19th, something like that.
Something like that.
But it's a national conference of community college trustees. They have a very progressive national agenda that they take up at those meetings, so we'll look forward to that. Other than that, over the summer, Dan and I had a number of fruitful meetings, talked about a lot of stuff. And we'll be getting to some of that a little bit later. But the bottom line, I think we got through the summer in good shape. So that's all I really got to report on today. In terms of ad hoc committees, the ad hoc committee on marketing did not. We met in July, but we don't have another meeting. We meet quarterly, so we'll be meeting in October. We do have to appoint a technology chair, and Susan is, of course, chair of the talent management, and we got that report earlier today. So, unless there's any other questions or comments, we'll move on to the President's report. Mr. President.
Great. So as the chairman mentioned, yesterday we had our fall convocation. It's always,
One second. Susan, I'm sorry, you were at the convocation.
yeah, I was going to mention that. So.
I'm sorry, I didn't know when you were there.
It's all right.
And Susan always goes, so thank you for that.
Don't need to.
Excuse me there.
I was just about to mention that. So we rolled out our theme of the year. If you recall, the first year our theme was redefining or rebranding Erie as a place of efficiency, relevance, innovation, and entrepreneurship, moving from ECC or Easy Credit College. Last year we launched our SUNY Erie Cares initiative, and we fleshed out some of the values, organizational values that go into cares, compassion, accountability, racial equity, excellence, and students first. And then this year, the theme is shared future and common vision. And I really think that we're at a point of inflection in our evolution as an institution, and that we will need to work together for the future of the college. And again, thank you, Len and Jeff and Susan for joining us. It always makes a difference, and the community really likes to see the board leadership there. We recognized 13 SUNY Erie staff members with the President's Award, many who work diligently on the Workday project, as well as people from ITS and admissions, and a special recognition for Joan Castro, who is retiring. As some of you know, she's been here and the long-standing executive assistant to the Provost's office. So we got to recognize her. And then we also had an excellent diversity training session after the award ceremony for faculty, staff, and administration. Okay, so in terms of fall 2019 enrollment, if you recall, we budgeted for fall 19 enrollment to be approximately 5% lower than last year. And through Tuesday night, so fresh off the press, our enrollment is 7% lower year to date. So a couple percentage points more than we anticipated. But we have time to make it up. So add drop runs through September 10th. So we won't have a concrete look at our final head count numbers until late September. And FTE will continue to fluctuate through mid to late October as advanced studies enrollment will continue until then. So one new development in our communication efforts this summer was the successful launch of our texting platform. So our VP of Enrollment Management, Steve Smith, along with the admissions and counseling teams, managed hundreds of responses that supported recruitment, continuing student enrollment, and student account satisfaction. So I just want to acknowledge Steve for his initiative here and to better serve our text-friendly students. From academic affairs, probably the biggest event worthy of note was the graduation ceremony for our first class of graduates from the Northland Workforce Training Center on August the 16th. We had 24 SUNY Erie graduates complete a mechatronics or CNC machining certificate at Northland this year. And so it was really a pleasure to address the graduates along with Steve Tucker and Howard Zemsky. And special thanks to Adiam Sagai for her excellent work in coordinating the event. And we received excellent press coverage as well, and I think I sent the link to board members covering the event. The Pathways to Success program accounted for 710 FTE, so that's over 21,000 credit hours and just over $2 million in revenue during the 18-19 academic year. And so these numbers are up 53 FTE and slightly more than $100,000 more than projected for last year. So congratulations to Program Director Justin Kernan and his team for excellent work here. So our nursing program is set for its accreditation review Tuesday, September 24th. And I've spoken to the Executive Dean, Patty Locido, about this, and we're very confident that her team will come through accreditation with flying colors. So we wish her good luck there. Brian Porter, one of our art faculty members, has a new public sculpture entitled Company F Memorial Statue, and it's being dedicated in a formal ceremony in Medina on Saturday, September the 7th at 11 a.m. So if any of you are available, certainly welcome to attend. So we want to congratulate Brian for his dedication to this project and his beautiful work. Assistant Professor of English, Lisa Moslow, wrote a poem called Jackie's Comet that was published in the Poetry and Medicine column of the Journal of the American Medical Association last month. So congratulations to Lisa. From athletics, I want to congratulate our women's basketball coach, who was here, I think in May board meeting, Natasha Price Cummings, who coached the Cameroon women's basketball team at the FIBA Women's Afro-Basket Tournament in Senegal earlier this month. So she's the first woman to serve as head coach of that country's team and in the whole tournament. So we want to congratulate her for being the first and for her good work there. And we also want to wish good luck to our men's basketball coach, Alex Noara, who's taking the international stage once again as head coach of the Nigerian men's national team at the FIBA World Cup in China beginning this Saturday, this weekend. And so this is a qualifying tournament for the 2020 Olympic Games, so we wish you the best of luck. Our Cats football and soccer teams are kicking off their home schedules this Saturday afternoon at South Campus, so if you're available, the best of luck to our athletic director, Steve Mullen, and as well as our coaches and our athletes.
So what time does the game start, the football game?
The football game.
1?
Noon.
Oh, noon, okay.
Football's at noon, women's soccer starts at 1, and men's soccer's at 3.
Oh,
Thank you.
good day.
Good job. The Erie Embrace project continued this summer with focus groups and follow-up meetings with admissions, counseling, and financial aid teams. And the idea was to collect data on the culture we have, some of the values and employee concerns. And the next steps will involve working with a consultant to develop training opportunities based on those findings. And Steve's here to elaborate more if you're interested to hear about Embrace.
Sure. Dan gave a really nice introduction to that. What we're doing is really focusing on identifying knowledge and procedural gaps that exist within our enrollment and student services operations here. The idea really being that we're going to serve students better when we serve each other better and have a better understanding of like the right hand, the left hand knows what the right hand is doing. So far, we've done a number, we started with a pre-treatment survey before we did anything to kind of assess exactly where we are. We were moving forward with different focus groups. People in those focus groups in those 3 areas that Dan mentioned have some homework that they do. They turn them in. Our consultant has done a number of what he calls tempo walks, which are walks really predicated on learning and managing by just observing and having conversations with people in the actual workspace while they're doing the work. Where we're at right now is that he's taken his findings there to develop a number of different training opportunities that we're delivering in person, that we'll be delivering online, and we'll be rolling those out here as soon as drop ad concludes, and then do a post test and see exactly how much we were able to move the needle on this with this exercise. Next step would then be to move forward with other areas within enrollment management, because we're just focusing on the 3 critical areas where we know we need the most help right now.
Is there a plan to share the results of those surveys with the Student Success Curriculum and Diversity Committee?
Would be honored.
So, I
Absolutely.
mean, just there's an evaluation, and in addition to what the consultants recommend, but the raw.
Sure, yeah, and we can, at our next meeting, we can go over even the pre-test evaluation of what we had. I don't know exactly the timeline for when our post-test would be. I think it's probably going to be predicated on how often, how fast we can get these training opportunities done.
So there's a student survey happening, and there's also a staff survey happening, right?
Oh, okay, so the student survey, I don't have it in my notes here for a student survey, but that would be something that we should probably do probably after we do our launch of those few areas there. We do have those surveys that are going out right now in student satisfaction in those areas right now, so we can certainly use those as our baseline. Yeah.
Okay.
And one other thing in my head reminded me of our the discussion about assigned students to counselors rather than going all the
Oh,
way.
absolutely, yeah.
We made that.
Yeah,
That's
I
great.
mean, that's
That was important.
in some respects part of this. That's really also part of a separate project to develop student support teams, to develop a case management model both in admissions before students on board, and then to have a support team, faculty and staff counselors here once they're enrolled in college.
Big move. Thank you. Yeah, that's great. It's really great.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thanks, Steve.
The big highlight from Student Services is we're opening a mental health services office right here at City Campus starting next week. Licensed mental health professional will be on site 2 half days per week on Monday and Thursdays for any students that need assistance. You may know I'm a licensed clinical psychologist, and I really think that this was the missing piece for us. And so I'm very grateful that we've been able to get support from Say Yes Buffalo, as well as the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for supporting this. And special thanks to City Campus Dean Katrina Hill Cheatham for her work in getting this off the ground. From ITS, the Workday project will be launching phase 2 mid-October, and this phase includes student recruiting, admissions, and academic foundations. That means our students will be able to use the online application and services starting with the summer 2020 admissions window. And so special thanks and congratulations to Amina Lakavani and her team for keeping this project moving on time and on budget. Do you want to say any words?
actually way under budget. Yes, because normally you hear ERP going over budget. I mean, there is 70% of the project go over budget, and we have done that consistently, way under budget over what we had initially proposed. So the teams are both admission, recruiting, teams are an IT team along with IBM are all really gelled in and working very, very hard to make this happen. So lots of processes that were manual, there were no business process explicitly outlined, all those things are happening. So it's really exciting, and how all the teams are working together as one team, so.
The trees are happy now too.
Yeah, they're very happy.
Yeah, thanks. The trees are very.
I'm very happy.
So if you recall, there was great skepticism by some at the county and some actually former board members here about whether we would be able to stay on budget with our ERP. So I think Mina's done an incredible job to keep us not only on budget but under budget, and we're thinking of selling her services for those interested in buying new cars. She will join you for a small price.
Can I ask a question, getting back to the mental health clinic that's going to be available here on city campus? Is that open to all students coming from each campus,
Yeah.
or is it just?
Yeah, and we're hoping to be able to, I've been in contact with the Patrick Lee Foundation as well, in terms of expanding to.
But they'll accept students from any campus here at this clinic. That's really important. I mean, I think it's really hard for our students to focus on math, no offense, Colleen, when they've got serious issues that need to be addressed. And
This
I'm
is
glad that
only,
we're
this
moving
is also
forward.
a SUNY priority, so.
Great.
What would be the name of the office? Not mental health office. Would it be mental health?
The counseling center?
Counseling center. Have you thought about that?
We call it the Denise Wilson Counseling Center, is that what you think?
If you say Denise, I may say okay, not
Yes.
Denise. But
Yeah.
no. I'm just wondering, just because there's a stigma around mental health, and just the name mental health.
I've worked in this area, so we
Right.
generally call it a student counseling center.
Okay, perfect. I was just wondering.
Do you have other recommendations?
No, you are the
Denise Wilson? How about the
expert.
Denise
You are
Wilson?
the expert.
For a small price? Sean, we can name
No.
Sean Wilson. Sean Wilson Jr.
Sydney, maybe.
Okay. All right. So it was. We'd like to introduce to you Sarah Lasky, who's our new alumni relations coordinator. She joined us in July, and she has a wealth of event management experience with her. Prior to coming to us, she worked for continuing education at UB School of Dental Medicine, and her most important credential is she worked at the National Buffalo Wing Festival. So that I just want to introduce Sarah to you, and I don't know if you want to say a few words to the board.
Hi. Hello. So I've been here since July, like you said. Basically, I've been working on getting more alumni involvement, and the main way we're doing that is by connecting with them. We've not really had much communication with them, so really getting out there and talking to them, reconnecting, and reminding them that we're here, and we want to help them and talk to them and see what they're up to, and really remind people why SUNY area is so great.
So we're gathering stories of their successes.
Yeah, we've been doing that, so I've been going through everything that the alumni email's been getting the last couple of years, and just really starting to contact them and talk to them. And it's been a little crazy the last couple of months with the golf tournament and everything, so now we're getting back on track. It's great.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Sorry, did I cut you off?
Sarah didn't mention this, but she does have a background at community college. She started her academic career at Finger Lakes Community College, where she was also the student trustee, I believe, or president of the student body, I should say. So we appreciate that experience as well, because she has exposure to community college and some of the challenges she saw as a student and also as an alumni.
Great.
That helps.
Welcome.
Yeah. Welcome, Sarah, to the SUNY area family. It was a very strong summer for advancement and the foundation. We had more than 100 golfers, and including a few SUNY area board members participate in this summer's golf classic. Should I mention the scores?
No, please.
No.
It was rebels, yeah.
Raising $35,000 for student scholarships. We also had the second annual SUNY area Cats Thurman Thomas Youth Football Camp, which took place in July with more than 600 participants from 7 organizations. And this year included a promising young man that happens to be the son of our student trustee.
He definitely enjoyed himself.
In terms of scholarship updates, our fall scholarship cycle kicks off next week with the start of classes and runs through September 25th. And some of the new scholarships include the Thurman Thomas Family Foundation Scholarship for 4 students, which covers full tuition fees and books.
Wow.
Can I also, again, reiterate, I think it's really important as, right off the bat to work on connecting these people as during admissions and enrollment to scholarships, finding out what they're eligible for, having some kind of online application process that they can go to right away. Then our team can plug in the criteria that fit these various scholarships. I mean, I think if we can get that to them sooner than later and in a more efficient way, that would be something to strive for.
Mike, do you want? Go ahead.
You're probably going to talk about this, Dan, but is there announcements that's sent through their Blackboard or however?
Yeah, I was just getting Mike to
Yeah,
update.
and actually Doug might want to weigh in on this too, because I think we've been doing Monday, Friday meetings talking about the pipeline and how we engage students from their initial interest all the way to enrollment. And we do have, there is a mechanism right now that if they go to the website, it automatically populates all their information and it spits out to them the scholarships that we believe they would be eligible for based on what they filled in, right? So there is part of that, but I think where we've discovered there's a bit of a gap is right at the financial aid point of contact, right? So as they're getting their financial aid information, we should be letting them know right at that moment to connect to the scholarship, because we do leave money on the table. We give, I think Dan mentioned this, there's over $300,000 again this year, but we're leaving money on the table, and that's not something we want to do. It's fine because we invest it and we roll it over, but we want to give those resources to students that obviously need them. And we continue, and I think Dan will mention, there's a bunch of new scholarships that are emerging this year that will be first time available to students. We just want to get that information. So thank you for the point.
So could this be something that maybe can go through the text message to tell the students that these scholarships are available? And the applications are open?
We have actually a series of text messages that we're still continuing on with this week and into next week, pushing students through the enrollment pipeline here. We've actually been working, or going to be working with ASC to push out book scholarships, so we could probably actually blend those two together to create a more consistent scholarship message for students that need help with funding, getting over the edge there.
And to work with financially, what's the timetable to try to, is it going to be in time this semester or next semester to try to make that connection for scholarship?
So that's happening, so it is happening
Okay.
now. Those are things, I mean, again, it's a continuous improvement process with that. There's always things that we want to look at to do better with, to make students aware of these things before, while they're going even through the acceptance process, to know that they're not just here, but the expectation is that you look into these, that these are available for you. And I think that we have to start making a culture here for our students, for our staff too, to make it known to them that this is the expectation. This is what you do if you're a SUNY area student, that these funding opportunities are here for you, and you should go looking for them, and if you don't, we're gonna come to you with them.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So another new offering is the Rita M. Antolina Scholarship for students in the trades. There are a total of 30 scholarships across our 3 campuses. So special thanks to FFECC President Andy Sacco for making the connection for this scholarship, wherever you are, Andy. And the Sagent Scholarship, which was the result of a new career services partnership and the outgrowth of the STEM showcase that Chairman Lanahan and I helped launch last October. And thanks to Career Services Director Katie Marshall for her work on that. So we will be launching the Presidents and Foundation annual report digitally within the next week. So we'll be sending that to everyone on campus and to the board with a link shortly. And we're offering a sneak peek at the Rise Up campaign in support of SUNY area athletics. This is a year-long campaign. It's kicking off in September, and it's designed to help offset the pressure on student fees to cover the cost of athletics. And earlier this month, I reprised my most important role for the county, and that was being the Erie County Youth Food Judge. I have to say this will probably be my last year because it's such a hardship for me. And last but not least, on Monday, I was with SUNY Chancellor Christina Johnson, as well as SUNY Board Chairwoman Meryl Tisch at UB, as Associate Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, the notorious RBG, who was awarded an honorary doctorate. It's all from the President's office.
Okay. Thanks, Dan. We'll move on to the student trustee report. Albert,
Yes.
student trustee.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And I want to thank everyone for taking time out of their days to be here and support the students of SUNY Erie. I stated before in the previous meeting, one of the focuses this year for SGA remains to be food insecurity. We've been in communication with Sue Holdaway regarding possible solutions to this issue, and I believe we're making some progress. Another focus is increasing student, faculty, and staff camaraderie.
Oh, Albert, can I just tag on to that food insecurity thing?
Sure.
I don't know, should I mention this? So Wegmans just gave Monroe Community College, our neighboring SUNY partner institution, $3 million. Now Wegmans, Danny Wegmans is on the foundation board, and they're in Rochester. But our hope is that we will approach TOPS, which is based here, to support our students in terms of food insecurity. And so certainly if you have any ideas or connections, do you want to mention?
Yeah, Dan, maybe one other thing to mention, there's going to be a new supermarket downtown that we might approach as well. But also Penny approached us, we're going to have this conversation shortly, Albert, about creating an opportunity for employees to set aside some of their paycheck to go into a fund that would help build this fund within the foundation for the food insecurity issues that students might be facing, working with the AC, of course, as well. So I think there's a lot of activity. We want to make sure you're involved in that, but I think it's exciting. I don't know if we can go back to Wegmans, but we'll certainly look at our hometown top supermarkets for this.
And I do have connections at Amazon, so I will probably talk to Whole Foods. They're trying to kind of establish a footprint here in Buffalo, and there's always Dashes and others. Good approach. Sorry.
That's all right. As I was saying, another focus this year is increasing student, faculty, and staff camaraderie. And one mechanism we're going to use for that is a homecoming game, taking place on October 5th to coincide with the Veterans Day game. With the potential magnitude of this event and being so post-execution, various SGA officers will be reaching out to, if they haven't done so already, various departments and people headed to this room. I'm sure we can continue to count on everyone's support. We're also at NBC State exploring options to add to SUNY Erie's current initiatives to educate the youth of Western New York in various computer software development programs. On a side note, I'll be in attendance this weekend at the first home football game for SUNY Erie.
Okay.
One of 3 games this entire season at home. But lastly, one concern that's brought up in our last tri-campus meeting had to do with information dissemination. Our vice chair stole a little bit of my thunder, but that's okay. There's so many programs here at SUNY Erie that benefit the students in so many positive ways. There's so many people working to make sure students have the best college experience possible, but unfortunately, no one knows about them. there are so many scholarships, book scholarships that go without people taking advantage of them. Even things such as I found out yesterday, there's an emergency fund where students can take a one-time $600 loan to cover last-minute expenses they may have throughout the semester. It's amazing, but no one knows about it. So I want to appreciate your efforts to get the information out there, but I think collectively we need to come to some kind of resolution on how to do this. Because if the money's there, we know that students will definitely take advantage of them as soon as they know about the opportunity. That's all I have. Pending questions.
How big is that fund?
$24,000 roughly. Sorry, Susan. $24,400.
So it's a first come, first served basis, depending on it depends on obviously the severity of the case, but.
It's administered by financial aid, administered by financial aid. If a student has need, there's an online form, and if they're getting financial aid, a financial aid director, Scott Welch, will approve it. They send it to us, and we cut a check within a day, and then they repay it when their financial need comes.
And how's that repayment rate been going?
100%.
So that's a good fundraising opportunity that we can highlight to folks.
And it's funded by the student activity fees. Student government, the allocations committee years ago set aside that money so that they would have that ability to issue those loans to students in need.
Has it been completed? Is it used every year?
It's used every semester.
So you could, is it a separate account that people could contribute to? Separate apart from the fees that are?
Sure.
It is one of the things that Sue and the SGA we talked about
Yesterday.
Okay, some meetings, talked about, and so part of what Mike and I are having this meeting about is creating the opportunity for there to be a donation pathway for people to put both into the emergency fund, into the food security fund, and then creating with marketing and some other folks that communication plan around the scholarship opportunities, around giving opportunities, around the use opportunities, and how we manage that. So those are huge things for us to get accomplished this year.
Great.
How can we support that as an individual? After we have a meeting and figure out kind of what we want to do, we'll come back to you all and hopefully have you guys kind of be the point of the spear for us in showing and maybe giving, and then helping you lead the way for the rest of the institution and everyone else that may be interested. Thank you.
So, question about football tickets. And you have to buy tickets for the game or
Well, fortunately for me, students are
You're in
cost,
Okay.
but I believe, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Is there a gate somewhere?
Yes, I think tickets cost $3 to $5.
Yeah, I think they're $5
$5.
for non-students.
For non-students.
Game starts at noon.
Game starts at noon. I'll be there with bells on.
All right. I'll try to get out there. Sure with you.
All right.
Amy, please.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'm just looking through the website really quick. I'm on this scholarship kick right now. So I'm under admissions financial aid. This is the same thing the students will see, correct or no? They have to. It's once we log into the My ECC.
They see the same.
Okay, so I'm.
This is actually a question we had because we went through Pathway and Paula did an analysis of where the students are getting the information on scholarships. Do you mind jumping in on that?
Sure. So one of the things that we've been looking at more than anything else lately is where our heaviest traffic points are on the website. So when we're trying to drive students to specific information, we're putting it on the highest peak point on the site at this point. So there's multiple scholarship links on there, but in the case of the current scholarship cycle has not started yet for the foundation, so they don't have an active link on the site. But the scholarship for Follett, while there is a link on the bookstores page, we put a link on the student advisement page, which is where we have been driving every student to over the last month for open registration days as well as the student advisement days. So one of the things that we are trying to do with the website is really look at those peak traffic areas where the students are likely to go and find that information until we're able to get the new site up and running, because right now, there's just too much confusion on that site, and driving students to a link somewhere that's 5 clicks deep into the website is not helping them at all, because they're getting lost too quickly.
So Denise, where you currently are is where I initially thought that point should be, but that's not where our students are going for information. That's where I automatically went to, but again, based on the analysis, we put the links where the students are going.
Okay. The only reason why, because this specifically says scholarships and grants. So that's why, in my brain, that's where I would go to look for scholarships and grants. But the list of 4, I mean, Say Yes, Community Foundation, those aren't the scholarships that you're referring to.
Right.
So is there a document that exists with a list of all of the scholarships that could be distributed to the students through electronically or what have you?
It is available, not where you are.
Okay.
That's not where those students are
Is it
going.
here? Is it anywhere in
It
here? Not
is,
yet.
yeah, no, it is. And in fact, it is a link that we give out on bookmarks. I think they get it in student packet information, and that drives them specifically to where that is. But again, it auto-loads once they apply and start going through the process. It'll auto-load their information and kick out a list of scholarships that they're eligible based on what they're pursuing and their demographic.
So
That's even
from
more
your
important.
perspective, I think what you're asking for is there a marketing piece? No, there is not currently. That is something that we have requested out of the marketing office, that we could be given a list of all scholarships, especially ones that we're really trying to highlight and push. Because right now, we can't log into the system to see what scholarships are coming up or what are due. And not only would we have a piece that we could use to, for financial aid to hand out to students, but we would also have an ability to be able to promote individual scholarships on social media. And right now, we don't have that ability. So we did request that scholarship list, and we did talk to Chris about it to see what we're able to do. He did tell me there's hundreds of scholarships, and I completely get that, but we're the marketing office for a reason. We can actually figure out the best way to distribute the information if we have it. So we're working on that now with the scholarship area.
Okay, perfect. So ultimately, it's my biggest concern, and I know you guys have to work together to get this done, but my biggest concern is timing, because I'm sure the scholarships have some sort of deadline for application. So the sooner we can increase access of the information to the students, the sooner they can begin to apply, making certain that they meet their deadline, and if they qualify, they can apply. But if they don't know what they don't know, that's the issue. So that's why I asked until we can figure out the electronic piece, can we just get a list out somehow? I mean, I'm old school, I guess. Hey, I am old school. But so I'm thinking maybe just an email or something. I don't know. But I know you probably don't even open email. So you guys are the brains, you can figure it out. But I just think we have to get the information out soon, since the applications are open now. That's it. Thank you.
Yeah, we've been struggling with the right message and the right medium. I know when we had our previous student trustee here, he suggested having like a binder right at financial aid. But again, it would be we're not sure how effective that would be, so we're just trying to find the right way to do it, communicate it.
Currently, outside the financial aid office, at least at North Campus, there's a wall of various colored paper documents with some links to certain opportunities. That's the only thing I've really seen so far, but there's something, but
yeah,
get to go digging for it. One thing I'd like to mention, in the spirit of increasing camaraderie among students, faculty, and staff, we have formed a subcommittee in order to revamp the charting process for clubs. This all stemmed from, we just think it's really difficult to do so. I didn't know clubs end every year and have to recharter every year. So if there's no one continuing, or say they graduate, there's no one to carry on the club. So if students come in during the summer, before school starts, asking about clubs, and we tell them we don't have them, or they need to be rechartered. And the charting process is arduous as well. So currently we are working on that as well.
So getting that on track.
Redo out the whole process.
Trustee 2?
That's Chris.
When's the SGA retreat next? The next one? Is there one scheduled?
I'll have to get back to you, the date escapes me.
I just thought it might be good for some of the student government to meet board members. I attended this one, the presentation, but it might be good for both the board and SGA to meet one another.
Hopefully it's far enough in advance where you guys can clear your schedules.
Yeah.
Great.
Definitely.
What are you referring there with your question?
Just the next, so the Student Government Association, of which our trustee two is president, had a 2-3 day retreat in the summer, and they asked me to attend and do a presentation of the vision of the college and all that. But I just thought the next one, we might invite board members just so that the student government gets to meet the board and the board gets to meet the student government. So each campus has a president and then there's other officers. But I thought it was very engaging for me to be able to meet with them personally and to address their concerns directly.
I did have an opportunity last year to attend a meeting at the retreat of all the campuses and the trustees and representatives, and that was very informative. So if it's not a retreat, just to be invited to a meeting or such was really good and helpful.
Okay. This, off the top of my head, next opportunity, probably our next tri-campus meeting. Rotate every month. This month is at North, next month will be at City, month after that be at South. So typically toward the third week of the month.
Awesome.
Could we just get that on the calendar that is
Yeah, the dates.
distributed each?
Sure.
Oh,
Send
we
you the
do?
invite.
Okay, great. And just get it to Kelly.
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our council senate. Kelly Quinn is here.
I am. Just welcome back, everybody. We're really excited about the academic year and starting with classes next week. And to kind of piggyback off of what Chairman Lonahan mentioned, yesterday Dr. Scheidt's presentation highlighted the stone soup, the trustee stone soup, where all of the villagers come together to add ingredients to end up feeding the village and benefit the entire village. So in the analogy yesterday, we talked about different ways to push forward the retention initiative and the shared future and the common vision. So with that, the College Senate, we're looking forward to adding ingredients to this soup to add to these initiatives. So looking ahead, a little highlight of what we're looking to do in the fall semester and throughout the academic year. We're going to be forming a transitional studies task force to help guide developmental students. We are going to be working with faculty, counselors, librarians, and staff to continue work on the Student Guided Pathways Initiative, which we have our first institute coming up October 3rd and 4th at Finger Lakes Community College, your old stomping grounds there. We're continuing work with faculty and librarians to provide students with our affordable instructional materials. We have, this is the last year of our, we were giving money to faculty to develop things, so we're doing a big push this year to get anyone else that has not jumped on board with that. We're also working with the Distance Learning Committee to create and promote SUNY Erie Plus online master courses. I worked with Renee Fleerl and Pat Ryan out of the DL office all summer, and we created an MT112, which is our liberal arts mathematics course, SUNY Erie Plus course this summer. We just finished it last week, and I'm going to be using it actually in my online course for the fall, but it's going to be open for all faculty to use in their courses. And that also uses the affordable instructional materials. So outside of tuition, it will be free for our students. We're going to be doing continued participation in academic policies. You saw the Gen Ed policy. There's going to be one on transitional studies and individual instruction that we'll be looking at in September and possibly voting on in October, depending on how that goes. We're also looking forward to work across the college and all the different governance institutions within the college and breaking down those silos. I also attended the SGA retreat this summer with two future ECC students to, because I didn't have a babysitter, and they got to see a little bit about what we do as a college, and it was a great experience. And as Dr. McCoy said, it was really great to be there and to work with the students directly, because I only get to see the VPs if they're at, or the campus presidents if they're at the meeting. I don't have as much experience with them, so I'm looking forward to working with Trustee Tu and his group to continue that communication amongst faculty, staff, and the students, so that we can make sure that we are helping them with their concerns and making sure that their voices are also heard. We're looking forward to working with IRAP and Dr. Escobar. We had a meeting with him on Tuesday. I know the monitoring report is due in October, but coming up after that is going to be our self-study. So we're going to be working with the faculty and counselors that were assessment mentors and the middle states team to get a group together for starting work in the spring semester for that self-study. And then lastly, we have our Advanced Studies Task Force. We worked over the summer to engage Buffalo Public Schools and get a footprint at BPS, but we're also looking at schools that we do not have a presence in, and we have a lot of faculty and counselors and librarians that have friends and contacts at different schools, and we're working on a way to get them out and recruit and get us into areas where we may not already be or where we only have a couple of courses. So that's another big initiative that we're looking forward to. And our first meeting is September 10th. We'll be streaming it, but of course everyone is welcome to attend. It's 2:30 to 4, and oh my gosh, it was a long summer. B207. So.
Colleen, can I just say that the policy committee wants to reiterate how important it is to get those academic and gen ed policies. We want to act on this before the end of this year.
Yep.
So we can make sure that they're on track to do that.
Right,
we're waiting a year and a half.
Right, I know. Shared governance
really
takes a long time, but good shared governance.
Understood, but
takes time.
It's
But
time to act.
yes, we are on the agenda. I actually emailed 2 out of 3 out. I haven't gotten a copy of the individual instruction one yet. We already sent the other 2 out to senators with the get ready. We're discussing them, review them, and then we're hoping to get any feedback back to people that wrote them, and then possibly vote in October.
But that's the first intention to vote in October, and it doesn't happen. The board wants to take it in December.
Mm-hmm.
So we really need to.
Yep, that's why we're getting ahead of it and getting the information out, so everyone's ready to discuss.
And I know Jamie and Joanne have been great about.
Yes, they've been really good about it.
I just figured I had to say it.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
Okay.
Sure.
I wonder if you could clarify, just at least for me, the difference, compare and contrast the Student Government Association, SGA, and the College Senate, and how those two differ, 2 different bodies.
Right, they're 2 different bodies. The SGA is made up of the student body, and the College Senate is all of the different components of the college. So it's not just a faculty governance board, but we have deans, we have SES members. The 3 campus presidents are also members of the College Senate. So anything that is academic in nature comes to the College Senate, and then we discuss it, we act on it, depending on what that type of thing is. If it's something that we need more information on, or advanced studies, we need to get out into schools. All right, let's form a task force, and then we put people on it, and we go out and do those things, and then we report back to the College Senate.
And is there student representation at the College Senate, not just the SGA?
Yeah, there's the 3 campus VPs
Campus
from,
presidents. Okay.
or presidents. The
Student
3
body.
presidents from each of the campuses have voting seats.
Student presidents.
Yes, and that's what we worked on this summer when they came in for their SGA retreat, how to get any of their concerns voiced at the meeting, and trying to make sure that they get all the information prior to meetings so that they're not walking in blind, and so that they're prepared.
And to give you just a sense of the size of the College Senate, how many members make up that body, roughly?
It's about, like 80.
Hold on, wow. Okay.
Yeah, there's about 66, 67 voting members, but we also have liaisons that come to the Senate. They're not voting members, but they are active members. For example, Sue Holloway is a liaison. And so she comes, and if she can participate or add to any of the conversations, she does. Just as we have Jason Perry as the Dean of Students, and Joanne Comerauer is the academic dean, so they represent that group, but the other deans also come and they discuss different policies or some of the other things that we're working on.
So, Trustee Stone, one good way to understand what the Senate is about is to attend. Chairman Lanahan often does. I usually kick it off, and so shared governance is something that's very unique to higher education, and it's the College Senate is really the venue for all the bodies within the college to get together in terms of decision making, committee forming, and early development for policy making. So it's unique to academic institutions.
Very
You
helpful.
walk in, it looks like a big lecture hall. Everybody's sat there, and let me just say, I think Colleen summarized it very well, as did Dan. It's when you go to those meetings, it all comes together there. I mean, there's just anything that's going on in this campus is going to filter through there. I mean, the focus is on academics, but they get into other things as well. It's a pretty, it's an opportunity to learn what's going on the ground every day.
Right, no, it is, and aside from the policies that we'll be discussing, we're also going to have a presentation from Shannon Renaud out of the transportation office, because there's a lot of changes. We're not usually an announcement form, but if there's something that comes to us and it's going to benefit the entire college to know about it, we say, yes, come on in. We've had Merit come in, we've had the Moms program come in, because the best way to get the word out to faculty and staff is sometimes through the College Senate. Paul Sandy is going to be coming and giving us an update on marketing and how to do the new newsletter that goes out on Mondays via email. So anything that is really important that people need to know, we make sure that it's highlighted at the meetings, as well as all the different academics.
Okay, so I'm pretty new over the summer. Kelly, do we, as trustees, get notice of when the College Senate meets?
Yes. It's always the second Tuesday of the month, except for November this year because of Election Day or Veterans Day. So we're bumping to the third.
And if you ever want to watch it, it's live streamed?
Live streamed and it's saved. It's on the ECC YouTube channel, so you can actually go back and watch them forever. Because they used to, I do not watch them because I don't want to listen to my voice. They used to be locked in, I don't know, some vault of internet somewhere, and I had no idea. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't they be open?
Yeah.
So now they're all open. So.
And we're in talks with Netflix to put it.
Friday night at 10, instead of watching HBO and Bill Maher, you can watch
Yes. Yes, you watch that. That's the business of the college.
Thank you.
Thanks, Colleen.
No, thank you.
Great report. Okay, appreciate it. Okay, then we got the affiliated entities report.
Oh, our quarterly financials were submitted
Right.
through the financial committee.
Pretty much. Okay. Thank you. Any old business? Susan?
No, but I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Last night, I was watching the news and I was concerned about, I don't know how many of you heard about that, where that young man had brought several arms in his room, and fortunately some of the children, or some of the students I should say, knew enough to go to call and to be safe, and I'm just wondering how safe are we on our campus?
Yeah, so we do, each one of us has done active shooter training. I'll have Tracy go through the protocols and policies that we have on campus if you want. But we've all done this video as to what to do individually, but Tracy, do you want to talk about what we're doing?
Yeah, a little bit. We have some active shooter plans. We do instruction as requested. I generally go out myself and teach a 2-hour block on what to do in an active shooter. I've done it several times to groups throughout the college. We just hired, actually, 2 new individuals with extensive experience within this area. We brought on Vern Beatty, who's a 25-year Buffalo Police SWAT commander. He's going to be handling a lot of our training in this area as well. And we brought on Mark Cholik, who has an extensive background in emergency management, to help us move that program further faster. So we have done a number of trainings. We're going to start real actively with the training of our own staff in security to bring them fully up to speed. We've done trainings with them in the past, and we continue that at a more, hopefully, rapid pace to get them. We shoot once a year. We do a number of things. We're trying to get that geared up to a higher level, bring it up further.
But how do we make awareness to the students if something is, they don't feel right about it, like these young poor people in Atlanta?
Yes, we have the See Something, Say Something posters throughout campus. We've got our dispatch number. We've got a number of avenues that they can get through to us if they feel uncomfortable about something.
Thank you.
So we've got liaison with student government. One of our officers attends their meetings on a regular basis, so we have that open communications back and forth from various entities. We have a very good working relationship called Deans, so they have a number of venues. They don't have to come directly to security. If they have something they don't feel comfortable with us, we open it up to a number of different intake sources to bring whatever information that they don't feel comfortable about to us.
Were you involved with the security team at Canisius for our students who are housed there and having just some opportunity or?
Yep.
So
We
there's
just had a
outreach
meeting
to the
with, we
students.
just had a meeting with Kim Beatty, who happens to be for us. So we have a very good relationship with Canisius and the security of Canisius. She's chief of police there, retired from Buffalo as well. So they just had a meeting actually Monday to discuss, review our communication plans for our students there.
Tracy, you want to talk a little bit about kind of what the plan is with Mark for this year in engaging faculty and staff and some of that in the training pieces that we've not done so far?
We're building a plan to put together some roundtable type drills and activities, eventually accumulating probably in the spring with an active shooter drill. So one of the ideas we're trying to move forward is bringing a group of instructors and have a few role players here to be the bad guys, and we're going to put one instructor as the instructor, and then several faculty in the classroom as students, and actually run through a drill so that everybody can see what we would be doing in an active shooter situation. Previously, the training I've done, I've relied a lot on the FBI Coming Storm video, which FBI did a very, very well-produced video. I think I've showed it, most people have seen it probably here, and discussed what to expect, but we have not done an actual drill. There's been training with the run, hide, fight scenarios and that type of thing. So we're looking in the spring here to do an actual drill following like a round table and a few preparations for that.
How would you notify students if there was an active shooter?
We have two systems in place. We have our radio system, which is our texting and email system. The radio alerts go out relatively quickly, within minutes on text, much slower on email. We have also our InformaCast system here, where I can actually broadcast a message to the entire campus, all campuses, parts of campuses. For example, we used timely notification, something that's recorded in Cleary. If anybody remembers last year, there was a car chase and some activity with Lackawanna in Hamburg Police Department, where there were a few individuals thought to be armed that ran from the police. We did make an active notification to South Campus on that evening. We said, we're locking down, we're locking all the doors. There's police activity outside, and please, as you leave the building, call security for escort to your vehicle. So that's the type of things, and we announced that within all the buildings at South Campus. So that was resolved within a half hour, 45 minutes after our announcement, but the timing of it was right at about 8-ish, so we didn't close that because school was over. So, but we did make the announcement at like 7:30, 8 o'clock when we were aware of that activity. So that's the type of things we do.
So in terms of the clery reporting, just where did you, besides sending it to?
Clear reporting goes to the Department of Education.
Do we see it? Who on campus gets that kind of?
It's published in our annual security report, which is due out October 1st, and we're working on it right now. There's very specifics as to what's included in the clear report. It's generally sidewalk, street, sidewalk around our campuses, unless there's other physical barriers. So, and each campus has its own report. To include this year, we'll be including Northlands.
Could somehow that get disseminated to the board?
Yes, yeah, it goes out on the webpage, just publish on our
But
webpage.
I mean,
We can send it out.
send it to you as well.
Yeah.
That's about 85 pages
Understood.
of policies and procedures and stuff.
Do you want the whole thing, or do you want the link to
incidents,
the?
yeah, I mean,
The link might be just,
we'll start with
I
that.
think in the
Either way,
link
whatever.
in the board packet for information is good enough.
okay,
We can do that.
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
I might add, we're very lucky to have Tracy Guest on our staff as VP of Security and Facilities. He has specialized background, having served as Secret Service to the Clintons, and I, as president, really appreciate that history and background. But we're very lucky, and we feel safer as a community because he's heading our security staff.
Thank you.
Tracy, do you want to send me the name of that liaison? Of your liaison to the town meetings?
Oh, Anthony Gale.
Okay.
He's a lieutenant here at City Campus. He's a 18, 19-year teacher out of the Buffalo school system that came on with us about eight years ago, so he's well experienced, well versed, and he's an excellent liaison with us because he really comes out of the education area and works great with students and has a passion for it. So,
Thank you.
yep.
Just want to note, tragically, and it had nothing to do with a non-campus incident, but one of our graduates who crossed the stage in May lost her life in a domestic incident over the summer, and it was just so tragic. I know there was a funding page, or funding fund set up, and it was very sad. It just highlights, you know, the importance of safety in every context. It's,
Right.
Thank you for that, I appreciate it.
This discussion about residential students reminded me of a question I had from page 258, which said that in the minutes from the Student Success Committee that SUNY area is posted for a residence life position due to the expansion of housing at Buffalo State College. I wasn't aware that we had students at Buffalo
Yeah,
State
we're not
College.
doing it.
Okay.
There was a proposal to expand residential options to Buff State because they had vacancies, but it didn't work out financially.
Well, timing wise, it did not work out for this fall, so we're gonna take our time over the course of this year, have more conversations, see where that goes.
But it's still working with Canisius.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
Canisius is working.
It's our one option.
There have been talk about Damon too, wasn't that?
We had talked to, again, all of the
Okay.
local colleges, we're trying to figure out, I'm saying this, we're trying to figure out where the right fits are for our students and for our business partnerships, so.
Thank you. Sorry.
okay, that was old business. Any new business?
I have one
Jeff.
quick item, and I'm not sure how I'm addressing this mostly, I think, to Dan and Penny. Dan, thank you for the candor that you showed yesterday at the convocation in terms of talking about the macroeconomic things that are affecting our enrollment nationwide, statewide, and locally. Demographics, we all know the story. But picking up on the comment that you made about enrollment being down 7% when we budgeted for 5%, I think my question is this, just in terms of, I know you're adjusting and you may hope that it creeps closer to the 5 that we've anticipated and less toward the 7 that you're seeing at the moment. But in the event that it stays or hovers near or around the 7%, I think my question to Penny and you is this: what steps would be most immediately taken to respond to that within the current fiscal year? And how long would we go before we were looking at steps that would come to the board to deal with that? If it comes to be that we're closer to 7 than 5.
What is the, just to back up, what's the actual impact of the 2% difference?
Yeah, I think it's 2% with, I think it comes out to 1.5 million.
No,
Oh,
no, right now, we are still in our enrollment cycle. So, knowing that we've still got, another 7 days worth of enrollment, ads drops and things like that. Right now, in that range that we're in, I'm watching these numbers every day, within that range that we're in. So, we're already starting to talk about, what that looks like right now with our first drop that we're doing today for those students that have not re-engaged, enrolled, but have not re-engaged with us at all. We're looking at, 300 to 500,000 range right now that would even be something that we would have to even think about.
but Penny, over the course of the year, 2% is the
Right, but right now, what we're
No,
tracking.
I'm trying to answer Todd.
Yes.
So over the course of a year, 2% equates to how much?
I don't know, I'd have to sit down and do that, I don't want to put that out there
But-
and guess that right now. So.
Anyways, given our budget, which is roughly 10 million, 2% is, you can kind of do the math. I think that's what you were asking, right?
Yeah, just a general ballpark of what a percent means in terms of revenue. I suppose there's a number of variables, but just a,
Yeah.
right.
But 1% is probably about $1 million, a little more, and then 2 would be over the course of the year. Now, obviously, we would address it accordingly, so like Penny said, we don't need to yet because we don't have the final numbers. But vacancy control is obviously the first way. And then we would have to have conversations with our academic side to see where we could create some savings in terms of sections and faculty.
So reasonable chance though, between now and say the next 10 days that we still won't be able to hit that 5% number.
Yeah.
How many students are we short? Between 7 and 5%.
Okay, I have the numbers. You want head count or FTE?
I'm just curious, get to me later, it's fine. I just want to see how much ground we need to make up within a week.
All of the sentence anyway. Do you have?
Again, it's a little difficult to give right now. What we're getting ready to look at dropping is about 170 students that haven't responded to us. So that is population-wise, it is about, again, I really hate trying to answer these questions without being able to do the analysis because, putting these numbers out there without having any more time to be more specific, I don't want to create an appearance that isn't a reality, so.
Understood.
Based on the percentages that Dan gave to you, right now the reports as of Tuesday night were minus 644 heads, minus 289.9 in FTE. So again, as the president mentioned, we do fluctuate quite a bit over this next month because drop add does pick up a significant number of students. So we anticipate that Tuesday number was based off of the first 2 days of open registration. The third day of the week on Wednesday, we normally pick up another 100 heads. So we're still, these numbers are numbers we're looking at every single day. So everything is still fluctuating so much in the next couple of weeks that, we're not hitting a panic alarm at this point. Clearly, we're concerned and we do look at these numbers regularly to make sure that we're communicating with students to find out what we do next. And there are those discussions about what those contingency plans would be should we need to scale back on services for the fall. Our main priority is obviously always to do the best that we can on behalf of the student populations that we have here at the college. And that is always going to be in the forefront of our minds no matter what we do. So we're looking at the numbers every day, but we have not hit a panic button at this point.
Okay, I appreciate that. I think the main point I want to make is I do appreciate the candor that everyone who's spoken in response to my question has shown, not just at this meeting, but at the convocation, even yesterday, sharing broadly with the faculty what's going on. and at the budget meeting the other day, other meetings, I do feel that we're all watching this carefully.
Yeah.
We all collectively have to respond to this, but it's in the community's best interest, obviously, to stay completely on top of it and begin to think a few months to further ahead to say, all right, if this comes out this way, here's where we are. If it comes out a different way, this is where we are, and when will this come to the board? So I appreciate the level of dialogue.
Right, and we will have a much stronger answer for you within the next 10 days.
Good, thanks. That's great.
But we do appreciate your sensitivity to this issue because, and Trustee Hogler is right, 2%, over the course of the year is quite significant. So, and we do have contingency plans for 1%, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. But I don't want to raise that alarm, so I just want to make it clear, right, that we don't have final fall numbers right now. Just in the interest of full disclosure, we're at -7%, whereas we budgeted for -5%. So that's just.
And the snapshot at any given time is not the most significant thing. A trend means something, and that's fine. So we are sensitive to that, and not to jump on any given report at any given moment. So, but let's stay in dialogue about the whole situation, obviously.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Does it include the online students as well in those numbers?
Yes, ma'am. The students that are in those reports are a small number of our advanced study students and then everyone else that is in credit-bearing classes.
Okay, is there any other new business? If not, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session. Motion made by Trustee Hopler, second by Trustee Gallo. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So why don't we maybe take a 10-minute break and then we'll reconvene back. Yes. All right.
get a little better on that.
We do?
It's great, you'll love it.
Is
It's
that-
absolutely,
I said he could if he wanted to, but it wasn't necessary.
easy
Okay.
to play,
Okay.
long enough
So,
to challenge.
we good?
There's some water, it's very good. You've been
Okay,
before,
so
go to the
now
beach or
I'll
anything?
entertain a motion to
You'll like
adjourn the meeting, the full meeting of the board.
Executive, hold
Well,
on.
you gotta give your report.
So I'm going to give a report on what happened in executive session.
Oh, yes, okay.
The board met in executive session to discuss the president's review and bonus and legal issues facing the college. And then we returned so then we have a motion to leave executive committee. It was at
Right,
12:20.
we did that.
And now we're back in regular session.
Okay,
And now I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the regular session.
so moved.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody. We will be.
Well.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you all.